All right, the Great American Bash, night one tonight of the Great American Bash. What a night and what a time it is for professional wrestling at the moment. Tonight we have the Great American Bash, we have Fyter Fest, we have some great matches, we have Extreme Rules on the horizon too. There is so much going on right now in the world of professional wrestling, good and bad. I must emphasize, good and bad. There's some pretty horrifying stories going around right now in professional wrestling, but tonight we should celebrate it. Tonight we should celebrate that we're going to have two world-class presentations on our TV screens. I, for one, can't wait. I am incredibly split about which one I'm going to watch. There is good and bad on both of these shows. I'm incredibly excited. But in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about the Great American Bash, specifically one match, that being WWE Women's Tag Team Champion Sasha Banks going one-on-one with the NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai. Wow, I mean, what a dream! It's a dream match, isn't it? I mean, you can't say much more than that. It is a dream match, and it isn't often, especially in WWE, but in professional wrestling in general, that you can't really have these dream match scenarios. But this is certainly one here, and I'm pretty confident it's going to deliver. Sometimes with dream matches, they get hyped up, don't they? And I think back to AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania 34. That's the one everyone thinks about, isn't it? With being hyped up as a dream match, and it can never live up to the expectations there. But I think this is going to deliver. I really do. Of course, this is part of the Great American Bash presentation by NXT, night one of the Great American Bash anyway. It's close to the 4th of July, so if I don't mention it prior to the 4th of July, happy 4th of July to all the American viewers out there. But this comes from Sasha Banks challenging Io Shirai on Twitter over the last week, which of course came after Bayley and Sasha Banks defeated Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart, easy for me to say, on NXT a few weeks ago to retain the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. And then out came the NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai. She came out, chased off Sasha Banks and Bayley, called it NXT her house, her place, which then led to a bit of back and forth on Twitter, and then we get the challenge from Sasha Banks to Io Shirai, and we get the dream match, which I don't know if you could tell by my tone of voice at the start of this video, really looking forward to it, really looking forward to it. As I said, it's a dream match, it has to be considered the dream match. People that say, oh, it's not a dream match, whatever, because in their mind, a dream match has to be between a retired person and a current person, or two retired people, or two people that can't go up against each other. That isn't the case at all. A dream match is a match that you've always thought and wished could happen. Sasha Banks was Io Shirai. Of course people want these matches to happen. It's a dream match. It's a match people have talked about in the past. Look at the reaction it's got already on social media. Look at the reaction it got when it was announced. People are talking about it. It is a dream match. So it's absolutely a dream match, regardless of what people say. Now, it has to be the main event as well, right? It's got to be the main event of night one of the Great American Bash. It looks like it will be. The way that it's been positioned in the marketing materials on WWE.com and the adverts that we've seen, it looks to be the dream match. To me, it's the biggest match on the card. I mean, it's a stacked card for night one of the Great American Bash anyway, but it's definitely the match I'm looking forward to the most, definitely the match that I think everyone is looking forward to the most. The match has got the most hype behind it, so it'd be great to see NXT doing this big TV special. We'll go into why they're doing it in a bit. I won't go all over it just yet. But it's good to see them doing this big TV special, and we're going to get a female main event, which of course comes after the female main event at NXT TakeOver in your house. So it's good to see the females main event in NXT, especially Sasha Banks, right? Sasha Banks was part of that original main event scene in NXT, and once again, she's back along with Bayley on the black and gold brand, and they're right back into main events with someone who is just as worthy in Io Shirai of that main event spot. So really looking forward to that. And I won't lie. I like to watch one show live at a time on Wednesday, so whether it is NXT or it is AEW Dynamite, I like to watch one at a time. I've tried to do the whole simul stream, have both screens going at the same time, multi-watch thing, but I think it's really hard. Obviously you can see when big things happen and you can sort of flip them back and forth between, but for me that's quite difficult to cover both at the same time, so I like to watch one regardless if I'm happy, not great with it, or indifferent, whatever. I like to watch one so I can just concentrate, dive into that one and really take that in, and then I'll watch that one afterwards. Usually it's AEW Dynamite, just because that's what I've been doing from the start, really. But I won't lie, I'm pretty conflicted this week as to which one I'm going to watch live. My point is That's Sasha Banks versus Io Shirai. It will be the main event, and it does tempt me this week to watch NXT instead. As I mentioned, I usually watch AEW Dynamite live, just because, as I mentioned, that's what I've always done. But man, this is close, isn't it? This is close. It's going to be really, really good, and that's the same for both programs. But this match, Sasha Banks versus Io Shirai, it's going to be really, really good. The main thing is, I just hope it gets a lot of time. I think it will. I would hope it gets at least 20 minutes plus. I would hope so. The problem is you have commercial breaks with that as it comes with TV. We saw that's what people were complaining about a couple of weeks ago with AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan on SmackDown for the Intercontinental Championship. Arguably one of the matches of the year, was a little bit tainted because we had, what was it, like 5 or 6 commercial breaks during it. It was outrageous. We won't get that tonight, obviously, because there's limited commercials, which I'll go into in a minute. So that won't be as bad. So hopefully this will get a lot of time, which I think it will, and it won't be interrupted as badly by all the commercial breaks. It's just a great night for professional wrestling, isn't it? And it's a great night for wrestling content. When I think of Sasha Banks versus Io Shirai, could it be the best women's match of the year? And I think to answer that question, you have to think of, okay, well, what has been the best female match of this year in WWE? I won't go into other promotions because I'm sure there have been great matches in other promotions. But could it be the best female match or women's match in WWE this year? And to answer that question, you have to think of, well, what has been the best women's match of this year? There were some good ones in 2019, but specifically 2020, I think some of the best matches this year, NXT TakeOver in Your House, main event, Charlotte Flair, Io Shirai, Rhea Ripley. I thought that was phenomenal. I thought that was a really good match. I thought it was best match on that show. Absolutely worthy of being in the main event. Best match on that show. Other female matches that have been good in 2020. I thought Becky Lynch versus Asuka at the Royal Rumble was pretty good. Not as good as the NXT TakeOver in Your House match, but that was a good women's match. 2020 Royal Rumble, the female Royal Rumble, really enjoyed that match. I always find it difficult to say the Royal Rumbles as the matches of the year because they're difficult to judge, because sometimes they're so great because they are so unique. They're so, it's one match of the year. But I would probably say the best female match this year is probably the NXT TakeOver in Your House main event. I thought it was really good. I genuinely think as well that tonight could exceed that. It could be that good. The thing is with that match, the Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai, Charlotte Flair match with the triple threat, there's lots of moving parts there. So if you're a bit more of a traditionalist and you prefer the one-on-one classics, I think that tonight could absolutely do that. But certainly high expectations for this one, right? Absolutely high expectations for this one. Could be the best women's match this year. Maybe even the best WWE match of the year, right? I'm sure some people might be rolling their eyes at that one, but I really do think it could be that good. It's a shame we don't have a, big crowd, arena full of people to see this match, but look, that's just the time we're living in at the moment. We've got to have the Performance Center recruits. They're actually taping the Great American Bash nights 1 and 2 back to back. So next week will already be recorded, but we'll have some atmosphere in there, and I think that does help take the match to a next level. So, as I said, certainly high expectations for this one. But if you're NXT, if you're Triple H and you're Shawn Michaels and you're Road Dogg and you're Vince McMahon, this is how you beat AEW, right? You get established stars from Raw and SmackDown, you get them onto NXT, and you pair them off against your big NXT stars. That's how you move the needle. That's how it's worked in the past. You look at some of NXT's big ratings victories prior to last week. I think back to Survivor Series, the build to Survivor Series. You had the likes of Raw and SmackDown stars on NXT that moved the needle, that beat AEW Dynamite. Last week, you just had the main event of the NXT North American title match that moved the needle. And I don't think it was a particularly strong AEW show as well. So NXT won, and I wouldn't say they just won. They smashed AEW last week, right? They absolutely smashed AEW. This was NXT's first victory since April of this year. It was actually AEW's lowest rating ever as well. I don't think, some people were saying, is that because of the Sammy Guevara situation? Is that because of whatever? I don't think so. I don't think it was the case of loads of people jumping from AEW to NXT. I think the audience bases for both shows are quite distinct, actually. Obviously, you've got the older audience for NXT, and then you've got the younger audience for AEW. You can just see that in the demographics. And in the coveted, was it 18 to 39, 49 demographic. AEW still won last week, just, but that was the only thing they won. And any other category, NXT completely blew them out of the water. And obviously, overall, NXT brought in more viewers last week. I think it's more of a case last week of the regular AEW viewers didn't watch their show, and then you've got some of the viewers from Raw and SmackDown to watch NXT. I don't think there was a huge amount of jump over because I think their audiences are so separate and so distinct. But the fact of the matter is, last week NXT, they smashed AEW. And it was the biggest difference between NXT and AEW, the biggest margin difference, I think, that has there ever been. If you include when they've both been on at the same time. NXT had 786,000 live viewers last week, and AEW had only 633,000 live viewers last week. Of course, DVR viewers go in and change things slightly, but the one that people talk about are the live viewers. And look, NXT got what they wanted. NXT desperately wants to keep that victory margin and keep winning. For the longest time, they have been losing to AEW Dynamite every single week. They get the occasional victory. They get the occasional one victory. It's pretty close, but they get the occasional victory. Last week is the biggest victory they've ever got. It got people talking without a shadow of a doubt. Obviously, coming into the Great American Bash as well, it gives them great momentum heading into the Great American Bash. And look, there were rumours prior to this. There were reports about it. We even spoke about it here on this channel. Vince McMahon loves winning, and he hates losing. Now, there were rumours and reports that he was unhappy with NXT for consistently losing every single Wednesday, which is what they were doing. You know, regardless of how close or not close it was, NXT lost most Wednesdays to AEW Dynamite. He hates that. He hates losing to another professional wrestling company. He looks at that and go, why am I, the biggest professional wrestling company in the world, $1 billion professional wrestling company or sports entertainment company, whatever he wants to call it, why are we losing to a company that's only been going a year and on another network? This is preposterous. Why is this happening? So he's not happy with it. He's not happy with it, and he was looking to change things by all account. Nothing major. He wasn't going to come in and say Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard are running the show. We've seen how that's done for Monday Night Raw so far. But he wanted things to change. And then suddenly, lo and behold, wouldn't you know it, NXT starts absolutely stacking the show. They announced the winner-take-all match. They have the North American Triple Threat Championship match last week. They have Sasha Banks and Bayley come back onto NXT most weeks. And now they have Sasha Banks versus Io Shirai tonight on the Great American Bash. They even announced the Great American Bash. So they suddenly have started stacking the shows. And then they win last week. Wouldn't you know it? And look, and I will touch on this again. I mentioned this last week when I spoke about the Wednesday Night Wars. People can say there is no such thing as the Wednesday Night Wars. They're not even in competition with each other. They don't pay attention to each other. That is a load of bull. Of course they pay attention to each other. And any example, there is so many examples of WWE trying to counter-program AEW. AEW have also done it before, you know, people with the WWE people get on at me. I'm not one or the other. I just like professional wrestling. I know that's a crime to some people, to like both shows. But they've both counter-programmed each other. WWE have absolutely done it more. Absolutely. Of course they have. You just go back in the history. It's there. But AEW, they announced quite well in advance. Fyter Fest, we're doing Fyter Fest this year, but it's going to be on July 1st and July 8th. We're going to spread it across 2 weeks. That's what we're doing. And then suddenly, last week, wouldn't you know it, WWE announces we're bringing back the Great American Bash, and it's going to be on July 1st and July 8th. Just so happens to be the exact same time that AEW have brought back Fyter Fest. Wouldn't you know it? And then, not only have they announced they're bringing back the Great American Bash, which people have been calling for years, right? Bring back the Great American Bash, likes of Halloween Havoc 2, etc., etc. Not only did WWE say they're going to bring back the Great American Bash, but it's also going to have limited commercials. So we're going to have less times it's going to go to break. We're going to have less people jumping off at commercial breaks. WWE really, really, really wants to win here. Like, really bad, okay? They got the taste of victory last week, and they really, really, really want to keep it. So how do you do that? How do you keep people watching that watched last week? You bring back the Great American Bash, you have limited commercials, so you have less chance for people to change the channel, and then you have an absolute dream match as your main event of having Sasha Banks versus Io Shirai. Get a dream match headlining in the show, and that's how you get people watching, and that's how you get people talking. People have already been talking about it this week. Me and you are talking about it right now. It's working. It's working. It got people watching last week too. So I'm looking forward to this episode of NXT, more looking forward to an episode of NXT than I have for a long time, to be honest. Sometimes I find the build to NXT episodes a bit indifferent. You know, regardless of what they announce, I do think the more star power it obviously is there for the AEW shows. You've got the likes of Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho, etc., who, if they were in WWE right now, they wouldn't be in NXT, put it that way. They'd be on Raw and SmackDown. So that does show the drawing power that they have. So AEW certainly has the star power and the drawing power over NXT. It's without a shadow of a doubt. I don't care what people say for that. It's absolutely the case. But we're talking about Sasha Banks and Io Shirai here. So what is the prediction? It's a tough one, isn't it? It's a really tough one. I think who can afford to lose here? Right? You have the NXT Women's Champion. She shouldn't be doing jobs really anyway, but she certainly shouldn't be doing jobs on her own show, regardless of who it's against, right? Regardless if it's against one of the best female workers on the roster, one of the best female superstars WWE have ever had, right? Sasha Banks has got to be up there. But in opposition to that, Sasha Banks, she's WWE Women's Tag Team Champion with Bayley. She's competing for the Raw Women's Championship at Extreme Rules against Asuka. Monday Night on Raw, she beat Asuka. She pinned her in the middle of the ring in the main event of Monday Night Raw, which, by the way, was Drew McIntyre's first loss since November 2019 of any kind. Yeah, Sasha Banks did that. You know, wasn't anyone else. Sasha Banks got the first defeat on Drew McIntyre since November 2019 of any kind. That's pretty impressive. So they're building her up. They're building Sasha Banks up. They're keeping her strong for her match against Asuka at Extreme Rules for the Raw Women's Championship. So who wins? It's a difficult one. They've kind of booked themselves into a corner slightly, which I don't like, but I'm willing to take it for the dream match. So unfortunately, I think we get a bit of a screwy finish here. But I think it will set up something really, really good and something really, really exciting. So I think we have the great Sasha Banks vs Io Shirai main event. I think we have the great match, but I think this will lead to interference from Bayley. Now, the SmackDown Women's Champion and WWE Women's Tag Team Champion, Sasha Banks' tag team partner, Bayley, will be at ringside. They've already announced that. So I think she interferes. Maybe Io Shirai looks like she's going to get the victory or whatever. I think she interferes and they both beat down Io Shirai, leading to a save from none other than Sasha Banks' opponent at Extreme Rules, the Raw Women's Champion Asuka. So Asuka makes the save, helps Io Shirai fight off Sasha Banks and Bayley, which then leads to William Regal, NXT General Manager, appearing on the screen, and we have Sasha Banks and Bayley, the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, against Raw Women's Champion Asuka and Io Shirai, the NXT Women's Champion, next week on week 2 of the Great American Bash on NXT. And again, that's another dream match that I want to see, and I think everyone would want to see, and would get people hyped up. How do you improve on a Sasha Banks versus Io Shirai match? You add in the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley, and you also add in the Raw Women's Champion Asuka. That's another dream match right there. That's another match that will get people talking and get people watching NXT and get people hyped for night 2 of the Great American Bash, on top of the winner-take-all match between Adam Cole, the NXT champion, and the NXT North American champion Keith Lee. That's how you stack a show. That's how you go up against AEW Dynamite having their World Championship on the line and having Chris Jericho competing. That's how you do it. And once again, I'd be pretty damn conflicted as to which show I want to watch because it'd be that good. So really looking forward to this one tonight. I think it's going to be a great show. Obviously, I think it's going to be a great match. I'm still undecided what I'm going to be watching, but what are you going to be watching? Of course, it's just my opinion. Which show are you going to be watching? You're going to be watching the Great American Bash on the USA Network, or are you going to be watching AEW's Fyter Fest on TNT? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be another subscribe button at the end of this video along with a video for you to watch. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. We'll be covering both shows tonight as best as I can, even though I probably will be watching only one live, but I'll be doing my best to cover the main talking points of both shows. So I'll be covering it on our Twitter account at 365Wrestle, and you can follow us also on Facebook and Instagram at WrestleNews365. Be also sure to go to WrestleNews365.com for all the very latest news, updates, and articles there too. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak with you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.